Hey guys, thanks for checking out this quick video on the next step in our building out of the back. This is pattern number 2, so we just started working on this week in training. We've done a lot of pattern number 1, and pattern number 2 is just a slight variation to build on pattern number 1. So quickly, we'll just remind everybody of our shape. We have our goalkeeper, we have our 2 center backs, we have our central midfielder, our 2 outside midfielders or wing backs or full backs, and we have our striker. So as the ball is played out into our fullback, notice into our center back, the center back or the defender on the opposite side as well as the outside midfielder on the other side are starting to glide over to that side, and you can see the 9, our striker, is starting to move over to that side. As always, we're going to ask our player with the ball to take their space until they are encountered by a defender. So that's going to go ahead. The center back's going to go ahead and take their space. As that's happening, the outside midfielder on their side will come down to support, to give the appropriate angle. The 6, the central midfielder, will stay pretty much where they are, moving a little bit into that space to again be an option. And of course, there's always an option of the goalkeeper, as the goalkeeper should be shading over here to provide an angle back. So in pattern number 2, we do the same thing as in pattern number 1. The ball is played out into the outside midfielder. And here again, the outside midfielder will take their space until encountered by a defender. Now it's really important here that the central midfielder get into this space, and that this space is going to be different depending on where the defenders are, but you have to get into the space to be an option. The center back on this side should start to come up to be an option in support if this gets closed off. So actually the center back should be even deeper here to be an option to come back in case he can't make it. However, this is pattern number 2, so just like in pattern number 1, the ball will go into our central midfielder. And what's going to happen here is he's going to play a 1-2 ball out to the outside midfielder. So this is a wall pass, or what they call a 1-2. If the 6 can play this as a 1-touch, great, but if they have to take a touch, that's fine. And the ball needs to be played out in front. We want the outside midfielder to be able to run towards it. And then obviously in the game that we play with the 2 goals out here, in a real game, this person could just keep going and the 9 could go with them. But in our game here with goals, the wide midfielder will go ahead and play it to the striker or just play the ball into the goal himself. So let's look at that again down the other side. So we'll go ahead and reset here, and the ball is played out to our center back. Everybody is, again, shifting over on the opposite side. The striker is starting to shift over. The 6 is shifting over a little bit, but we have to be very careful not to shift over too far into the space of the 5 and of the 3 over here. So the 5, the center back on this side, will take their space. You can see the 3 is coming down in support. The 6 is pretty much just staying in this space to support. Our keeper is coming over to support. And these are really the 3 options. Once the ball gets played out and the center back takes their space, getting your head up and scanning, these are our 3 options. Now, but again, in pattern number 2, we're going to the outside midfielder. That ball again goes out to the outside midfielder, takes their space. You can see the 6 gets themselves a nice spot here. The 5 is starting to shade over to support the center back on the opposite side, as well as the outside midfielder on the opposite side are starting to come over. They're not going to come over too much though. A good rule of thumb is you really don't want to come more than half of the field if you play on one side. So you can see the 4 is shaded over here, and the 2 is starting to come here. The 9 also wants to get around here. We don't want the 9 to get up into here unless there'll be triggers when we'll tell you when to do that. But again, that we're just purely talking about pattern number 2. So this is a 1-2 ball with the outside midfielder and our central midfielder. So you can see he plays, and as soon as he plays the ball, he starts to go. That ball is played to the central midfielder. does a 1-2 ball, and then again, the outside midfielder plays it to the 9. So again, in a real game, these goals aren't going to be here. So if you have space after this 1-2 ball, we're going to ask that the wide winger, the outside midfielder, would just keep going. And if you're the striker, you keep going along the same line. Don't come over and get into his space. And what would happen at this point is everyone would go, the 2 would go, the 6 would go, the 4 and the 5 would follow, and the 3 would go until either they get a cross off, go in for a shot, or if they get defenders that come and close them off, they can play balls in or even play balls back. So very simple concept and a very quick just variation on pattern number 1. So we're going to be working again, we're going to keep working on pattern number 1, but we're going to add now pattern number 2 into the fold. Guys have any questions, feel free to ask me in training this week, and we'll see you later.